The crimson dust of Kepler 442b swirled around Lieutenant Maya Torres as she crouched behind the twisted wreckage of her transport vessel. The emergency beacon flickered weakly, its dying light casting eerie shadows across the barren landscape. 3 days had passed since her unit had abandoned her here, declaring the position untenable after the surprise. Attacked by the hegemony forces, the official story would read that she had been killed in action. Maya knew better. Command had written her off the moment her squad leader, Captain Reed, decided that saving one soldier wasn't worth risking 12 others. She couldn't blame them entirely. The mathematics of war were cold and unforgiving. But Maya Torres had not survived the brutal training camps of Earth's military academy to die forgotten on an alien world. She had grown up in the ruins of Detroit, where scavenging and surviving were daily necessities. Her grandmother had taught her that humans endured not because they were the strongest or the fastest, but because they refused to quit when everything seemed hopeless. The Hegemony Patrol found her on the 4th day. They emerged from the dust storm like mechanical nightmares, their powered armor gleaming despite the harsh conditions. 7 soldiers led by their captain, a towering figure whose helmet bore the distinctive crest of a veteran commander. Maya had studied their tactics extensively. The Hegemony prided themselves on efficiency and overwhelming force. They didn't take prisoners from what they considered inferior species. Maya had prepared for this moment. Her rifle was nearly empty, her armor cracked and failing. But she had spent 3 days turning the crash site into a fortress of improvised traps and defensive positions. When the first Hegemony soldier stepped into her kill zone, she was ready. The battle lasted 6 hours. Maya used every trick she had learned, every advantage the terrain could provide. She turned their superior technology against them, using the wreckage to channel their advance into narrow corridors where their numbers meant nothing. She improvised explosives from the transport's power cells, created diversions with the ship's failing systems, and moved like a ghost through passages too small for their bulky armor. One by one, they fell. The captain was the last to face her. By then, Maya's ammunition was exhausted, her armor completely compromised, and her body pushed beyond its limits. He found her in the transport's main compartment, sitting calmly among the bodies of his subordinates. Cleaning a blade she had fashioned from a piece of hull plating, he spoke to her in perfect standard, his voice carrying a note of something that might have been respect. You fight well for a primitive species. Your death will be remembered. Maya looked up at him, blood trickling from a dozen wounds, her dark eyes unwavering, not the one who's going to die today. The captain removed his helmet, revealing a face that was almost human, but for the subtle differences that marked him as one of the Hegemony's genetically enhanced elite. His expression showed curiosity rather than concern. You have no weapons. No armor, no hope of rescue. What makes you think you can defeat me? Maya stood slowly, testing the weight of her improvised blade. Because you made one mistake. You assumed that being human made me weak. The hand-to-hand combat that followed was brutal and decisive. The captain had superior strength, speed, and training, but Maya had something he couldn't understand or counter. She had the desperate fury of someone who had been abandoned by her own kind and left to die, combined with the stubborn refusal to quit that had carried humanity from the caves of Earth to the stars. When it was over, Maya sat in the dust beside the captain's body, his ornate helmet cradled in her arms. The Hegemony reinforcements would come eventually, drawn by the silence from the patrol. But something had changed in that final confrontation. The captain had looked at her differently in those last moments, not as a primitive creature to be exterminated, but as a warrior worthy of respect. Maya activated the emergency beacon one final time. It's not to call for rescue, but to send a message. When the Hegemony ships arrived, they found their patrol dead, and a simple statement carved into the hull of the crashed transport: humanity does not yield. The rescue ship that retrieved Maya 3 weeks later found her walking across the wasteland, the enemy captain's helmet strapped to her pack like a trophy. She had survived by scavenging from Hegemony supply drops, turning their own logistics against them, and staying ahead of their search patrols through sheer determination and cunning. The debriefing officers expected her to be broken, traumatized by her abandonment and ordeal. Instead, they found a soldier who had discovered something profound about her species. Maya Torres had learned that humans didn't survive because they were perfect warriors or brilliant strategists. They survived because when everything else failed, when hope was gone and death seemed certain, they found ways to keep fighting. The helmet of the enemy captain became a symbol, passed down through generations of human soldiers. It served as a reminder that sometimes, in the darkest moments, a single person's refusal to surrender could change the course of history. Maya Torres had been abandoned in no man's land as a casualty of war, but she had returned as proof of humanity's greatest strength, the ability to endure, adapt, and ultimately triumph against impossible odds. Her legend spread throughout both human and hegemony space. It's becoming the foundation for a new understanding between the species. Sometimes, the greatest victories came not from grand strategies or superior technology, but from one person's determination to prove that being human meant never giving up.